welcome to the Only Football Podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm one of your hosts, and we are going to talk about some Week 15 news, some good news, some bad news, some condolences, a little bit of everything today. And for the first time, we're going to give the fans an opportunity to call in. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm going to save that for the end. Let's start this episode out by sending our condolences to Mike Leach. Those of you that don't know who Mike Leach is, he was a college football coach. He was a coach with Oklahoma State with Bob Stoops. He coached Texas Tech, actually had them in the top 10. Then he was Washington State, and then he was with Mississippi State. A lot of players spoke so highly about this guy. I personally, I'm not going to be one of those guys where someone passes away and I pretend that I knew them and I followed them, because I didn't. But the way people speak about you after you pass away really speaks volumes about you. And just seeing the outpour from the community of football today made me really interested in him. Apparently, he liked to talk about UFOs and ghosts. He was an individual, and he didn't try to change anybody from being an individual. And a good example of that is Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew was the quarterback at Washington State, and apparently he shows up, and you could probably imagine jorts, American flag bandana, the wife beater, if they're still calling it that, I'm not sure. But Gardner Minshew said that, the coach didn't try to change him. He appreciated that he was an individual, and he just let him roll. And Gardner Minshew kind of brought that same energy into the NFL. So I'm really, sad, I guess, or sending condolences. He had some kind of heart attack. I don't know the details of it, but I do know he was a father. He was he had a grandson, and so he was a grandpa. And that's, really the saddest part, is saying goodbye to your closest family. But a lot of people sending a lot of love towards him today, and I'm sure the family really appreciates it. And Only Football is going to be added onto that list that sends love, condolences, and prayers to the Leach family. All right. I wish I could say that it's going to get better from here, but Kyler Murray suffered a torn ACL last night on Monday Night Football. And if you watched the play that happened, it was a non-contact injury. Kyler was rolling out to his right. He was trying to make a move, and it was just one of those plays that right when he went down, if you've been watching football for 20 years, you already knew what happened. Those type of blown knees, they look pretty, common after you've seen them for so long. So Kyler Murray goes down. Kingsbury, after the game, said he hasn't seen Kyler in that much pain ever. So I kind of had an idea of, that it was probably an ACL, probably torn ACL. And then today, the news comes out that Kyler Murray did suffer a torn ACL, and he's done for the year. And he did quote, and I will actually read it off to you just so it's official. He did say in the press conference, he said, yeah, he'll be done for the year, torn ACL. It's obviously unfortunate and tough to see, and talking to him last night, yeah, it was a tough night. So that's just pretty bad for the Cardinals, who are already having a pretty disappointing season. The expectations for what they wanted to accomplish this year, even if Murray was healthy, there's just not enough games left in the year for them to get back on the playoff trajectory. So, you just try to, lick your wounds and get ready for next year. And there's 3 other teams already doing it: Houston, Chicago, and Denver, already out of the playoffs. So shortly, I expect Arizona to follow suit, especially because of how tough that division is. They got Seattle in it, who's playing pretty well, and they got the 49ers, who have the best defense in the NFL right now, and it's not particularly close. Probably Denver would be second. But, yeah, man, it sucks to see a guy go out, especially a young guy. You really want these guys that are, especially you think about Kyler Murray and, he's being an undersized guy, 5'10", very mobile. You worry about if they can stay healthy. And you look at Lamar Jackson, and he happens to be out right now with an injury as well. But the difference between them two is Kyler Murray has $100 million contract and Lamar Jackson doesn't. So I guess that could be the positive, is that Kyler Murray got paid, especially if he didn't have a contract and he went into this year and did not perform very well and then got hurt. You see what I'm saying? That's not a really good time to sign somebody on a multi-million-dollar contract, especially because not everybody recovers from these ACLs the same way. So the good news for Kyler's camp is that he's paid, and hopefully he can get back and get healthy. I do expect him, when he comes back, to naturally have some limitations. They haven't come out yet if it was a clean tear or it was, a more complicated injury than that. But I do expect there to be a little more. Think about RG3, right? When he tore his ACL, he came back and he wasn't running as much and he wasn't as mobile. So I think if Kyler can get healthy and get into training camp and then be back for week 1 next year, I do expect him to maybe take about 8 weeks before he really starts trusting, because live reps are just different. And we know that. And even preseason live reps, they help a little bit. But look at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott suffering that catastrophic injury. Excuse me. I'm so old now. I have to talk through burps. It's disgusting. Don't get old. But yeah, Dak Prescott has that clean snap on his leg. And you saw last year was pretty much entire recovery year. And we've seen that. I've seen that with Bronco players where they tear the ACL and they come back the next year. But it's really not until that next year that they really look like how they looked before the injury. We had KJ Hamler with I believe, MCL, and he missed the entire season pretty much last year. And he spent 80% of this year on injured reserve and not playing. So I think it's going to take some time. I wouldn't bank on the Cardinals being able to, use him the way that they wanted to. I think it's going to take some time, and maybe best case scenario is you can start talking about Super Bowl maybe in 2024. But this is going to take a year to recover, and that's nothing new with an injury of this magnitude. Players come back the next year, and we've seen that. But usually it takes about, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks to really trust the leg again, trust being able to make those cuts. And Kyler Murray relying on his feet so heavily, being an undersized guy that really relies on getting outside of the pocket to get a better field of view, if you will. He's not going to be able to do some of that stuff, and we will see. We'll see how he responds to that. But Godspeed for Kyler Murray. Like I said, he got paid. That's the good news. If he was having a bad season and then got hurt, he may not have been offered this kind of a contract. So good on his camp for getting paid. Good for his family. I'm a player guy. I always want the players to come back, make as much money as they can, and be great. So I hope that Kyler Murray comes back and he's stronger than ever. It does bring up another point, though, when you think about their head coach. Let's see. Sorry, I'm having a little issue right now with Twitch. It's letting me know. Do you think that this makes Kingsbury job security a little more safe? Because if Kyler Murray goes out and the Cardinals are able to, muster a better offense than they were able to do with Kyler Murray in, you would think that potentially Kingsbury has a chance to save his job as the head coach. And a lot of people are saying, and I quote, this isn't me, these are other people, Cardinal fans, people inside of the camp. They're saying that the problem with the Arizona Cardinals right now is that there are two problems: have contract extensions. And you don't have to be a genius to read between the lines. That's Kyler Murray and Coach Kingsbury. Is that true? I'm not sure. I thought Kingsbury looked like a really good coach last year, and obviously it's just been a really bad year. But Arizona's had a lot of injuries, and I don't know. You put more tape out there, and a lot of people can have a really good year. Kyler Murray, I believe, was drafted in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's a chance that he had a really good second year, average rookie year, really good second year, and then it's kind of regressing a little bit. But I've been watching some of the games, and obviously not having DeAndre Hopkins for the first 8 weeks was, his biggest weapon. So we'll see. I really think Arizona needs to probably bring in some more weapons. I haven't been watching a lot of the games to see where the issue is, but I can tell you right now, Arizona in the last 3 games is ranked 27th on offense and 28th on defense. So, I mean, there's really only about 3 teams that are doing worse than that. And most teams that are ranked that low, like you look at Tennessee, the last 3 games, they're ranked 32nd. But yeah, and their offense or in their defense is ranked 29th. Like Tennessee's been atrocious the last 3 games. But I digress. My point is that Arizona cannot get much worse, right? So I don't even think you can point to one thing right now. It's kind of like Denver, where there's a lot of things you can point to. And when you're playing this poorly of football, that's usually the way it is. It's usually not one person that, is making your entire team horrible. And I think that's the case here. All right. Another really fun story. Oh, my bad. I meant to put up some banners I made for you guys. Another great story. Goff staying in Detroit, but there's actually a story before that story. The Lions make the NFL's top 10 appearance in their power rankings. So the NFL does power rankings every week, and this was the first week that the Lions made the top 10. So round of applause for the Lions getting that chalk off their pants. I think it's necessary. I really do. I think the Lions have been playing really good football, and we talked about it yesterday on the podcast. Sometimes, I guess sometimes there's just teams that we're accustomed to being bad for so long that when they start playing really well, we are late to the party, it feels like. And the Lions have been really good in their last 5 weeks. In the last 5 weeks, there's no interceptions from Jared Goff. 0. I'm actually going to pull up something right here. Defensively, they're ranked 15th. So that's points per game. So when the season started, if you look at like overall, they're ranked 30th. So Detroit was a team that was just giving up a lot of points, and they were able to flip some kind of switch. I think it really has to do with the turnovers they've been able to get. But somehow, some way, they've crawled their way to 15th, which is still middle of the pack. 15th is not the best, not the worst. It's like exactly right in the middle. So you look at Detroit, and you're like, okay, well, they have a 15th ranked defense. How are they doing on offense? Well, in the last 3 games, Detroit is the 3rd ranked offense in points per game. So yeah, I think 100% Detroit deserves a chance to crack the top 10 here on the NFL's power rankings. It's been extremely impressive. And as you see right here on the screen, Goff staying in Detroit, the word was just released that there's long-term conversations right now with the Lions trying to hold on to Jared Goff for the long term. So this is a little bit different than what we thought was going to happen. It kind of felt like Jared Goff was kind of a placeholder, waiting for a better draft pick and a better quarterback to come in. And then you had Dan Campbell saying things like, hey, man, we can win a Super Bowl without an elite quarterback. And we all knew who he was talking about. He's talking about Goff. Sorry, I don't want my laptop to die here. He was talking about Goff. And he's been so great. I'm gonna pull it up. I think in the last like 17 games, he has like 33 touchdowns and like 13 interceptions. Goff is kind of, because Detroit was losing a lot of games, even though on offense they were ranked really high in points per game. I think a lot of it kind of got lost on the fan base how well Jared Goff had been playing. He threw for 330 yards on Sunday, totally just cooking up the Minnesota Vikings defense, who at this point only had 3 losses. They're going to have a really stiff test this weekend when they go into New York to play the Jets, because that defense is the real deal. And let's be honest here. Detroit has an opportunity, if they win out the rest of their schedule, to make the playoffs, which is mind-blowing. They're only 1 game back right now from the wild card. And this was a team that was 1-6. And now they find themselves in positions, if they win out, to make a playoff. And I think this is a dangerous team right now. This is a team that I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs because they have nothing to lose, right? It's already a moral victory that they make the playoffs, that they're able to punch their ticket. It reminds me of the 2008 New York Giants with Eli Manning. Is Jared Goff the next Eli Manning? Maybe. But this is a good test, right? Because if you can go in and beat a Jets team that is playing, pretty decent football. I know they lost on Sunday to Buffalo, but Buffalo, probably the number 2 or number 1, however you have it flipped, team in the NFL. So I don't know. You can't think that the Jets aren't, a good team because of that. Everybody loses to the Bills for the most part. But the Jets have beat the Bills earlier in the season. And let's see, I have it written down here. I'll tell you where their defense ranks. Here it is. New York, number 5. So the Jets have the 5th ranked defense in the NFL. And the Lions, like I said, are at 15. Offense in the last 3 games, it's 13 for the Jets. They're the 13th ranked offense. What's for the Jets is really good because they haven't been scoring a lot of points. I don't know what they are in the season, but the reason I do last 3, when I'm telling you where a team ranks on offense, where a team ranks on defense, number 1, I'm talking about points allowed and points scored. And number 2, I use the last 3 games because as we get closer to January, I feel like that is the best sample size of a team. We saw Detroit go 1-6. 1-6. And totally, I think their playoff chances are probably at like 2.7%. I mean, it was so low. And then they win 6 out of 7 games, with their only loss being a last-second field goal against Buffalo, arguably the best team in the NFL besides the Eagles. And this team is for real. Middle of the pack defense, but the number 3 offense, and Jared Goff is playing at a very high level. It's not sexy. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's not Josh Allen. It's Detroit. It's not a big city. There's not a big market. I'm not saying it's, not a big, Detroit is, it's a city, but it's not Atlanta. It's not, Miami. It's not New York. It's not LA. But I'll tell you what, the people in Detroit, they love their football team. And they probably love their football team more than all those big cities I just named off. Because when you live in a, I don't want to say a smaller city. Like I said, it's a city, but you think about that Midwest, you think about Green Bay, you think about Detroit, Minnesota, Cleveland, even Baltimore. Some of these smaller cities, they really lean on the team. Like that is what they do. That is what their life revolves around. We may on the outside not see Jared Goff on the next cover of Madden, but Jared Goff is playing extremely well right now. And it's something that was surprising to everybody. And there's a reason that Detroit just announced today that they're trying to work a long-term contract with him. And I'm happy for the guy. And I didn't have this comparison until literally today. But do you think Detroit is doing what the 2007 Giants did? Squeak in at the wild card and win the Super Bowl? Is Jared Goff similar to Eli Manning? Eli Manning was not a sexy player to watch. I mean, no, I'm not going to say it, but you know what he looks like. You know, Eli Manning is not, the guy on commercials. He's not the guy that everybody, is in line to meet. He's just kind of a soft spoken, to himself individual who a couple times in his career got really hot and took his team and won a Super Bowl and beat Tom Brady twice. Arguably the best player in the NFL. Jared Goff kind of feels like this right now. Like, you counted him out because, small personality. But Jared Goff he's out there slinging it. And I would challenge you to watch the next Lions game against the Jets on Sunday and see if Jared Goff is actually, if he passes the eyeball test. Because that Jets defense, they're good. They're ranked 5 in the last 3 games, 5th overall in points allowed. So you got the 5th defense in points allowed going, after the 3rd ranked offense in the last 3 games. 3 versus 5. I personally think just like 3 is, better than 5. I think the Lions score a little more points than the Jets are used to giving up. And, I've had faith in this Detroit team in the past, and I've seen them lose. I've seen them fail, but it just feels a little bit different this time. It feels a little bit different this time. And good for Detroit, man. Talk about a city that needs to, they go to their games. I don't know, if they sell out, but I sure as hell see that they don't get blacklisted like Jacksonville does sometimes. If Detroit's playing, it's on TV in Detroit. People are showing up, and they've been showing up through 0-16. I believe they got Matthew Stafford from that 0-16. And then Matthew Stafford goes to LA and wins a Super Bowl. That must have been gut-wrenching. Because if you're a Detroit fan, you can make an argument that if they had Matthew Stafford right now, would they be better? I don't know. Call me crazy, but I don't have an answer to that question. Would the Lions be better if they had Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff? I don't think so. Not right now. Not right now. And it has nothing to do with the injury. So just toss that away. Nothing to do with the injury. I just really like what I'm seeing right now from Detroit. So that game is really exciting to watch. I wrote down a couple lopsided games, at least with offensive ranks and defensive ranks. San Francisco at Seattle. Now, when I say these games out loud, they may seem like, hey, that seems like a close game. But I'm just giving you the numbers here. In the last 3 games, San Francisco has the 10th ranked offense and the number 1 defense. Seattle has the 4th ranked offense, but the 30th defense. The 30th ranked defense in the last 3 games. So what does this tell me? San Francisco's defense is the best in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks lost Kenneth Walker III, so they have no running game right now, especially because they also lost their other running back. I'm drawing a blank right now, Dallas. They lost Dallas too. So Geno Smith is a system quarterback where you need to have a running game. You need to have certain things working in order for the scheme to work. You take out the running game, and Geno Smith got exposed. They lost to the Panthers at home, of all places, the 12th man. And the Seahawks couldn't beat a Carolina team that fired their head coach, Matt Rule, in the middle of the season because, they weren't winning any football games. They cut Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield goes to the Rams and has a comeback win in his first game. So what does that say about an organization? Because it looks like Baker had some juice left in the tank, but maybe he was just in it. Dysfunctional organizations will destroy players. And I truly believe that. I wonder how many players out there never got to tap into their potential because of the cards they were dealt. And by that, I mean the teams that they were drafted to, the general managers that moved them around, the deals that were made. Look at Antoine St. Brown right now for Detroit. He looks amazing. Do you think, if this was the Detroit offense of 2 years ago, we would know who Antoine St. Brown is? I don't think so. But that's just a small example. Moving on. Indianapolis at Minnesota. Indianapolis, and these are all the last 3 games. It's the last time I'm going to say it. I don't want you guys to think I'm giving false information. In the last 3 games, Indianapolis is ranked 22nd on offense, and they're ranked 31st on defense. That's pretty bad, whichever way you're looking at it. They're playing Minnesota, who's 6th on offense, and they're 23rd on defense. So Minnesota's defense has proven to be vulnerable. There's some things, in their defense that has made them below half the pack. But the 6th ranked offense, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Dalvin Cook is still a freak. And thank God he's been able to stay healthy playing on turf, because he wasn't a turf guy playing at Florida State. He's a grass guy. And if you look at his injuries, they're all on turf. And that's why you got the NFLPA right now standing outside Goodell's house with picket signs saying to get rid of the turf, is because there is a reality to the percentage of ACL, MCL injuries that happen on turf. Who played last night? The Cardinals. Do the Cardinals play on turf? Hey, Siri. Do the Arizona Cardinals play on turf?
The Cardinals lost to the Patriots yesterday.
You used to be smart. She used to be smart. Arizona Cardinals turf? Or is it grass? Is the Arizona Cardinals field real grass? The field and the stadium is natural grass. Okay, the stadium's retractable, so it was worth the question. A lot of domes don't have grass because there's no sun. All right, but I'm still looking at this Minnesota, Indianapolis, Minnesota losing to the Lions. Probably want to get this bad taste out of their mouth, and maybe they take advantage of Indianapolis. And they're playing at home. It's going to be a lot of skull going on. Give me the Vikings. Another lopsided game that would never have been considered lopsided. Just numbers-wise, these are lopsided. You got Miami at Buffalo. Miami, a team that, after they were winning 30-0 at halftime against Houston, people started saying Miami could go to the Super Bowl with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and their speed and ability to take off the top in the running game with Mostert and Mike Gesicki. Mike McDaniel seems like an offensive guru. It just all worked. But in the last 3 games, Miami has not been that great. They're 24th on offense, and you saw that with, they only had really one good play against the 49ers, and it was the first play of the game. 75-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill, the cheetah. But besides that, Miami hasn't really done anything now in 2 weeks, because we just live streamed the game on Sunday night, and it seemed like the only touchdown they have was that fumble that somehow Tyreek picked it up and scored, but it was a total fluke of a play. And they were playing the Chargers, and no disrespect to the Chargers, but their defense, they're without their best players. And why am I drawing a blank right now? Florida State. He's a safety for Florida State. Derwin James. Derwin James is the best safety in the NFL. The guy hasn't been able to stay healthy, and it's really unfortunate. But the Chargers defense has, no Joey Bosa. No, you take out Joey Bosa and Derwin James, and you change the entire dynamic of the football team. Because it only takes one of those guys to change an entire defense, and they have 2 of them. So, yeah, I do get concerned when Miami can't get their offense going against a depleted Chargers team who leads the league with players on injured reserve. So I'm going to take Buffalo at home, and they're saying there might be 7 inches of snow. So, just like how Buffalo lost because everyone was cramping because it was 98 degrees, looks like this time home field advantage is probably going to work in Buffalo's favor. Tua played at Alabama. Does Alabama play in a dome? I don't know. I think they play outside. But it doesn't really get that cold in Alabama. And college football playoffs end way before the NFL playoffs even start. I think it's like Christmas week. College football playoffs are on, and the NFL doesn't start till like the second week of January. So, I mean, it's not a huge difference, but I do get curious. Like, are these guys used to playing in the cold? And specifically the quarterback, most importantly. Because remember, Peyton Manning played in a dome with Indianapolis for a very long time. And when he got traded to Denver, that was like his Achilles heel, is that every time it was below 20 degrees, he sucked. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, he put gloves on. He's trying to throw the football with gloves. I mean, he literally looked like if you were ever a kid and you had to put on those snow gloves and you're trying to play catch and you're just like catching it with your body and throwing it, like it didn't look good. He was no Tom Brady. Tom Brady's just Aaron Rodgers is another one of those just cold weather guys that literally pride themselves on their ability to withstand that kind of coldness because it's a home field advantage in their eyes. No less than kicking a field goal in Mile High is an advantage. I mean, it's a real advantage this time of year. To play in 7 inches of snow. You're coming from Miami. I mean, if I'm the Miami Dolphins head coach, I'm traveling right now with the team. And I'm going to practice in this all week long. I'm not just going to take the red eye from the tropics to Buffalo. I don't know, what their plan is there, but I'm taking Buffalo at home. Another one is Philly at Chicago. Chicago's got the 20 ranked offense, 26 ranked defense. Philly, first ranked offense, and the 13th ranked defense. I think they're like 2 overall. Yeah, this Philly team's really complete. And we talked about it yesterday. They can beat you a lot of different ways. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. Hurts can run with the ball. He had 150 yards in the first half of the Packers game on Sunday night. There's a lot to love about this Eagles team. And really, it feels like the Super Bowl is theirs to lose at this point. So, yeah, I'm taking the Eagles over Chicago. I'm taking KC over Houston. And I'm not going to talk too much about this. Houston, the worst team in the NFL. They did play Dallas tough. And if you're betting on sports, I want to remind you, Dallas was favored to win by 17 points. So Dallas would have had to win by more than 17 in order if you took Dallas against the spread. Dallas won with 40 seconds left in the game for a couple of reasons. One, any given Sunday, these are professional athletes. And if you come out as 17-point favorites on the road, you might get embarrassed if you're not ready. You got to always be ready. That's one thing I love about Jalen Hurts. Being a coach's son, he never overlooks an opponent. But it also is hard. Patrick Mahomes is under 500 against the spread in December. And it's because of this. You got Kansas City plus 14. It's hard to win by 14 points. And I would just take Kansas City straight up. I think it was minus 800 to take them straight up. So I wouldn't even touch this game. It's not worth the risk. It's like you would have to bet $800 to win 100. It's like any given Sunday a team can win. The risk versus reward is just not there with this game. Next game, Dallas at Jacksonville. Look, Dallas, I think they're going to bounce back. Jacksonville's stock is really high right now because of the game they just had against Tennessee. But we just looked at the numbers, right? Tennessee didn't just have a bad week last week. They've been bad for the last 2 weeks. It's just taken us time to adapt to that because they were winning their division for the entire season. Since like week 3, I believe, Tennessee went on a 7-game win streak. Now, they've been bad for, about 4 weeks, but we're just arriving late to the party. Don't over compensate for wins or losses. Jacksonville lost 14-41 the week before last week against the Lions. The Lions are playing really good ball right now, but that's your measuring stick. All right. The Lions can be your measuring stick here. That's where Jacksonville is. So now you got Jacksonville at home against the Cowboys. You know, we saw Detroit play Buffalo. We saw that game come within 3. I think if Buffalo played Dallas, it would be within 3, something like that. But I really think Dallas is about to give Jacksonville fans a rude awakening, especially after almost losing that game to Houston. I'm expecting, Jacksonville to lose this game by maybe double digits. And I'm not going to go over every game, of course. If you want to hear every single pick, then you're going to have to tune into our podcast tomorrow on Wednesdays. I'm just circling the 7 games that I liked. And obviously, we go through all 17 of them on the Only Football podcast with Rick on Wednesdays. So definitely tune in for that. And the last 2 I circled is Cincinnati and Tampa Bay, and New York Giants and Washington. The New York Giants and Washington game was a game I said don't touch it 2 weeks ago. That was my don't touch it segment pick of the week. And they ended up tying. So I was right. Don't touch it. I changed my mind. This time I have an answer. I have a clear victor. But if you want to hear about that, you're going to have to tune in tomorrow, because I'm not going to give away too much stuff on this show, or you might not see you tomorrow. I'm going to open up another segment. This is going to be a really fun segment. I'm going to, let me get into this banner. I'm going to put my number up here for the people watching. And call in 360-421-7083 and let me know what your NFL questions are. Let me know who your favorite team is, what you think is going to happen. Oh, I got a number. So I think somebody's calling me, but I think it has nothing to do with this. This is hilarious. What's up, Wolf?
Hey Kyle, what's up, man? Sorry I missed your call. What's up?
Nothing much. I'm live on my football podcast right now. I have you on the air. Do you have any football question for us?
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, is Dak Prescott for real or what?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say the Cowboys are for real, because Micah Parsons and that defense is nasty, and Tony Pollard and Zeke might be the best two-headed monster in the NFL. But there's an interesting stat that I mentioned yesterday, that when Dak Prescott throws the ball, where is it? Dak Prescott throws the ball more than 35 times in a game. He's 16-24 in his career. When he throws it 34 times or fewer, he's 44-13. So that tells me that if they're throwing it less, that means they're running it effectively. And I really think that he kind of needs a balanced offense. I don't think he's a gunslinger.
He's not the real deal then. And then the addition of T.Y. Hilton, is that going to help or hurt?
I think it's going to help. T.Y. Hilton's obviously a guy that's, getting in his later years. But
he got waived after week 14 for no real reason. Just waived.
Yeah, I mean, but I think with an offense, with the firepower that they have, like, that's where a guy like that would want to fit in, like an older veteran kind of guy, to try to get into an offense, get plugged in somewhere where he won't have a lot of focus on him. He's not going to have to deal with people double covering him like he did in Indianapolis all those years. But I really think that means they're not getting Odell.
Oh, for sure. It's a huge signal, not getting Odell. He probably can't pass some type of physical examination or something for him not to have gotten an offer at this point.
Yeah, well, he won't do it. He said he wouldn't work out for the team.
That means he's got a bum knee.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, no, if he won't work out. And then he said that he doesn't want to play in the regular season. He said he needs 6 weeks to practice getting up at 6 a.m. every day.
Practice getting up at 6?
Yeah.
Is he 15?
I know. I was like, dude, it takes like 4 games to get the rust off coming off a major injury. You're just going to make and he wants next year's contract as well. So he won't even sign a 1-year deal.
Oh, That's crazy. No deal.
No
All right,
deal.
hey, my food just got delivered. Have fun.
Yep.
Love you, man.
Thanks for calling in. Yep. See ya.
Uh-huh. Bye.
All right. Well, I actually ignored 2 calls because I didn't want to hang up on someone, but I got the numbers here, so I'm just texting them. Man, yeah. Honestly, the T.Y. Hilton thing I think is going to be good. I don't know, like, scheme-wise, if he's going to be like a plug-and-play guy or if it's going to take him a little while, but definitely kind of sends those red flags that they're not going to be going after Odell. Let it breathe for a second. Thank you for calling Only Football. What's your football question?
My football question today.
Wait, what's your name? Let's do this the right way.
Oh, okay. Hi, how you doing? My name is PJ.
Hey, PJ.
And I'm down here in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And
Ooh.
I was just wondering, what is your take on the Tua versus Justin Herbert debate?
Honestly, I don't think it's much of a debate. I think Tua is a quarterback that if he's in the right system and he has the right weapons, he can be serviceable and he can even be good. But I think Justin Herbert is a quarterback that can overcome adversity, a depleted offensive line, injuries at the receiver position. And I think Justin Herbert's a generational quarterback. And I think Tua is if everything's going right, he'll be good for you.
I feel like I can definitely agree with that. I feel like Tua is not a bad quarterback in any sense of the word bad at all. I think that he is more of a system quarterback, dare I say. I think that this Mike McDaniel offense and just the whole entire team that he has around him has been so good that I don't think that his teammates have let him down. And I think that's really what's led to his success throughout the season, considering that he has 2 top 5 receivers, like according to statistics at least.
So do you think Tua, after what happened to San Francisco and what happened to the Chargers, I was just talking about this Chargers defense, no Derwin James, no Josie Boa, and they didn't look good at all. Like the timing seemed way off. Do you think that the expectations after they beat the Texans, they were winning 30-0 at halftime? I think that was their ceiling point of the year. People were like, this team could go to the Super Bowl. Do you still have all that on the table for the Dolphins?
Honestly, after seeing what I saw against the Chargers are definitely in a spot where they're fighting for a playoff spot. And after Monday night, they just got bumped down by New England. Granted, they have the same record, but I think the Chargers can definitely make a push for this playoff run. And the Dolphins have quite the stretch for the last 4 games of the season. They still got Green Bay. They still have the Bills this week. They still have to play New England, and they got the Jets weeks 18.
Yeah, a lot of tough divisional matchups. And
the Jets aren't going to go out easy. That defense is hungry. They're young. They're feisty. And Robert Saleh is a good head coach, and he's not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, and I do have the Bills winning this week. I do think they're expecting 7 inches of snow, and I do think climate, just like it affected the first game when
exactly
everyone was cramping for the Bills on the field because it was hot in Florida. I think it's going to be the opposite. I got the Bills winning, not a particularly close game.
Yeah, I just feel like Miami doesn't have anyone that's used to playing in weather conditions like that. And that's something that you really do have to take into account in the NFL, no matter who you're playing, whether it's weather conditions or injuries or, you know what I mean? Just anything, you have to take everything into account.
For sure.
A lot of people use that as an excuse to why someone's playing bad, or or just like not executing offensively or defensively. And to me, like, you're all in the NFL. You have to execute no matter what, and like this is what you do. You know what I mean? You have to be able to overcome adversity and all of the disadvantages if you want to be considered to be one of the top dogs in this league.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Thanks for calling in on the Only Football Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to Star 6 Media so you can see all of our videos that are live, and you get notified for all of our videos because we've been posting a lot of stuff.
Of course, man. Love the podcast. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in.
Have a good one. Thanks.
Yep. Bye. So we got some questions about Dallas. We got some questions about Miami. Is it a coincidence? Miami on a 2-game skid. We get questions about Miami, Dallas almost losing to the Texans. We get questions about Dallas. This is the time of year where people, they want to know what to believe. And they want to know if they can believe in a Christmas miracle and what team to stand by. The bandwagon is moving, and they got to know which team to jump on. Is it going to be Dallas? Is it going to be Miami? I think the funnest bandwagon to jump on right now is Detroit. Because if you jump on it now, it's not too early where people won't think that you're fake. But if you wait until they're in the playoffs, you're going to get exposed. Jump now while it's safe. All right. Well, thank you guys for calling in. I really appreciate it. Like I said already, go ahead and subscribe to Star 6 Media. We're putting up football content every day. Injury updates like today, the Tua injury, what it means, Mike McDaniel, the Detroit Lions making their appearance in the top 10. Everything that you guys need to win all of your bets, win your fantasy league, just get brownie points at work because you know things about the game. That's what we're here for. This is what we genuinely love to do, and it's only possible because of you guys listening to this show. So I want to say thank you, as I do every time I go off the air. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and I'm really, really excited to be back in the booth with Rick tomorrow for our Only Football episode. We're going to do all of our predictions. We're going to do Hold Up Wait, and we are going to do, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to keep it a secret. All right, guys. See ya.